One thing, today is actually very special. Yesterday, July 13th, was actually 60 years since Bhaktivedanta Swami incorporated ISKCON in New York in 1966. So it was the 60th anniversary of ISKCON. And it was also, yesterday was our 40th anniversary.
The two of you?
Pretty cool. Yeah, we got married on the 20th anniversary of ISKCON. And today is a very, very special day. Today is actually birth. We figured out. This is the day of the disappearance or the passing from this world of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is Prabhupada's guru's father, and like it's in the line of spiritual teachers. Maybe we'll talk about him a little more. Very progressive person, and passed away, I think, 1911 or something like that. And would be super happy about this group. He would fit right in here. He would be like, whoa, this is exactly what it's all about. So, very appropriate.
What a compliment.
That's a compliment.
Yeah, he was very, we'll talk about that later. He said some pretty amazing things. So, everybody here has chanted before and all that. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare as fast, but Srinivas Prabhu sent a message. No.
Anuttama Prabhu ki
Jai.
Yeah, please. I see a big smile on Lindsay's face. All of your faces. The Shringaday prayers. My mom was up dancing.
Where is your mom?
Is that a fan?
Southern Vermont.
A fan?
It's on.
Namaste Narashivaya.
Namaste Narashivaya.
7:45 or 8? Yeah, 7:45 and leave time for time march. Yeah, we'll move this. You want it right in front of you? Glass. Shri Gurave Namaha. Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Nidamayam Dadati Swavadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Gauramani Vijayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarine Vanchakapatarusya Kripa Sindhuyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radharani Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here's a prayer that I'd like to share, and maybe you could repeat line by line. So I'll share a little bit. This is a prayer of Prahlad Maharaj, who's the little boy saint from the Srimad Bhagavatam. But this is kind of
whose name we just saw.
Whose name we were just singing. But this is a free translation of one of his prayers that was kind of written for the for a 9/11 event at the National Cathedral in Washington. It was kind of a free translation given by one of our godbrothers, Ravinda Swarup Prabhu. So I'm going to say a line and then you can repeat. I find this translation to be very broad and inclusive. So he says, "May the entire universe be blessed with peace and good hope.
May the entire universe be blessed with peace and good hope.
May everyone driven by envy and enmity
everyone driven by envy and enmity
become pacified and reconciled. May all living beings develop abiding concern.
May all living beings develop abiding concern
for the welfare of others.
For the welfare of others.
And may our own hearts and minds
be
filled with purity and serenity. And may all these blessings flow naturally. From this supreme benediction. May our attention become spontaneously absorbed. In the rapture of love unto the transcendent Lord. Thank you so much. So I'm so glad to be here. We're glad to be here. Anuttama and I used to come up here every year to visit Burke, who lives in Middlebury, our dear friend, and another scholar friend who lives in Norwich, which we'll be seeing her after we leave here. But then we would ride our bikes across the world's greatest bike path on Lake Champlain, right? Mm-hmm. Is there a name of that bike path? What?
Causeway.
The Causeway. We would
just the end. Yeah, that's just.
I think it's just the
Burlington bike path.
Yeah, so we would drag our bikes on the back of our car up from Washington, and then look forward to riding across this beautiful, amazing lake. And then my sister lives in Maine, central coastal Maine, Damascotta, Maine. So we would head over to Maine from here. So this is our.
We never had anywhere to stop for kirtan.
Yeah, so we didn't even know. We've been doing this for years.
That's why this manifested for your
We're
pleasure.
We're very grateful.
Sometimes we go to our temples and we go, "Where's all the Western people?" And oh, they're all up in Burlington. Who knew, right? So it's good to see all of you. It's great to see so many women here also. It's enlivening to the heart. And so I wanted to speak a little bit, so Kishori asked me to speak a little bit about maybe some stories about women, and stories of Prabhupada. I wanted to speak a little bit, and then I wanted to give Burke some time to speak a little bit about whatever he wants to talk about. Maybe he can tell a little bit about his wonderful, exciting life, or whatever he would like to speak about. And then we can open up for your thoughts and reflections. Does that sound okay?
Beautiful.
Okay, good. So today is the disappearance day, which means the day he left this world, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was a great teacher in our line of teachers. As Anuttama was saying earlier, he is the father of our guru, Srila Prabhupada's guru. So he was really the one who planted the seed. Lord Chaitanya gave an order that his name should be spread all over the world. And who knew that the British would spread the English language all over the world? So that helped, right? We can thank the British for that, right? So yeah, by the grace of the English language and the...
Close to Canada, so careful. Don't talk
Yeah. Yeah,
English language.
Anyway, so he planted seeds. He wrote in Sanskrit, Bengali, and English. He wrote beautiful volumes of great, deep theology. He wrote beautiful poetry and many, many songs. And in one of his songs, which we like to quote, I wish I had the whole song with me, but basically what he's saying in this one song is, he's kind of chastising the people of the world, basically all of us. Why do you continue to hate people who worship differently from the way you worship? Some people bow down. Some people stand up. Some people worship by chanting the holy names. Some worship, this way, that way. But all are worshiping the one same God by different names. So why do you go on? Why do you continue to hate? Just embrace everyone and brotherhood, and I would add sisterhood, and just, love God and rejoice. It's really beautiful, one of his songs in the Gitavali. But just a wonderful, celebrated poet. And he wrote to Emerson. He wrote to so many. He sent one of his books, The Life and Teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to McGill University, to copies to Germany. And a celebration of a great broad-minded saint in the tradition. And then yesterday was the 60th anniversary of Prabhupada's incorporating ISKCON in New York City in 1966. So that's a special day. We're having celebrations. I don't know if you want to talk about we're having.
I have to bring in my signs from the car.
Yeah, he has signs. But anyway, we're having a big gala event in New York City on July 31st. It's a black tie event. If any of you want to come hike down to New York, and it's going to be, we have an archbishop from India coming. We have. I don't know if any of you ever into Bollywood, but her name is Hema Malini. She's called the Dream Girl. So she's kind of a classic Bollywood star. And she's going to be the keynote person speaking, and Gauravani will be singing. So it's going to be special. Radha Swami. And if any of you would like to come, you can talk to me later. But so that's kind of a big celebration for us. And so it's interesting. So Lord Chaitanya gave this instruction that his name should be spread all over the world, but people thought it was just some kind of poetry or some kind of allegory. Nobody really thought that anyone would ever do it. But then again, so at this point, like 200 years ago, right, Bhaktivinoda Thakur started planting these seeds, and he asked his son Bhaktisiddhanta, Prabhupada's guru, to do this. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta formed this institution called the Gaudiya Math, and organized really for the first time. Previously holy people would just gather in holy places in little groups and chant and talk about Krishna. But he was the first one to kind of turn it into an actually organized institution. And then Srila Prabhupada carried that idea forward in creating this ISKCON society. So I was thinking today that, maybe we feel like, I don't really like institutions very much. But, I was thinking that actually none of us would have ever met, if Prabhupada hadn't come and, organized this thing, or Bhaktisiddhanta, his guru, hadn't organized. And so his guru, who created this great institution, this Gaudiya Math, he also warned about the dangers of institutions, which is very interesting. He warned about how sometimes institutions can kill the individual spirit of a person. And your guru, whose picture is here, if I should take a Prabhu, he teaches in Silicon Valley, which they call ISV, ISKCON Silicon Valley, but it also stands for individual, spontaneous, and voluntary, which is something Prabhupada wrote in a letter, that devotees should be inspired to serve in an individual, spontaneous, and voluntary way. They should be given new, exciting challenges, and it should be very individual. So they all kind of warned about, there's an upside and a downside to institutions, so we have to be careful to take the advantages and the upsides and not get sucked into I was teasing, Burke said today that devotees have always told him, you're just licking the outside of the bottle, honey. And I said to him, yeah, a lot of them jumped in and drowned inside that bottle, so you're doing all right. So anyway, serve with your heart, with your love, in an individual, spontaneous, and voluntary way, in ways that inspire you to use your individual personal gifts, and be an essence seeker. This is something also Bhaktivinoda Thakur talked about. He used the term saragrahi. He said, in one of his poems, he says, "O saragrahi, Vaishnav soul." Vaishnav means a devotee of Krishna. He says, "Thou art an angel fair. Lead me on to Vrindavan, and spirit's power declare." So he wrote many beautiful English poems. Sounds kind of like Protestant kind of. He was influenced by the who are those Christians? The
Theosophists.
No, not Theosophists, but the Universal Unitarians. He was influenced a bit by the Unitarians, so that his English poetry sounds a bit like that. Anyway, so the point is, be an essence seeker. Don't serve with your heart in ways that inspire you. And this is not about judgmentalism or everybody fitting into a little theological box. So I hope that's helpful. But to share some stories, one story I think of is, we hear how Prabhupada came from India on a freighter ship. He had no money. He was homeless. Actually, he had 40 rupees, which you can't change rupees in 1965. You can't change rupees into dollars. But he did sell a set of his books to the captain of the ship for $20. So he walked into New York City with $20, so he was living very frugally. He was practically starving. He said he was walking around New York City like a vagabond, not really knowing. He said when he got off the boat, he said he didn't really know whether to turn right or to turn left. So it's an amazing story, but when you think about all the help he didn't get from God brothers, from institutions, from wealthy Indian people, the one person who helped him, I don't think people talk about this very much, but there was one lady who owned a shipping company. And he used to he asked her to sponsor a free ticket on one of her cargo ships that he could go to New York. And his godbrothers, his guru was sending disciples to Germany and to England. And once someone asked Prabhu, well, your godbrothers were going to Germany and England. Why did you decide to come to New York? And he said, because I thought if I was going to fail, I would like to fail in a different place. So anyway, she was telling him, no, you're too old. You'll die there. It's too cold for you. No. And he was just sitting outside her office, just like you can imagine, this big shipping magnate, woman who owns this fleet of ships that go all over the world, and there's this holy sadhu sitting outside her office, and he won't leave, And so, so finally he convinced her, and she gave him, he was able to have a cabin on this Jaladuta ship. And so I think it's very interesting that of all the people who didn't help him, it was one lady, one businesswoman from Mumbai who helped him. And and then another interesting part of that journey is that the Prabhupada said the captain's wife was an intelligent woman, and she was predicting. She said, if you survive, because he had 2 heart attacks on the boat, severe seasickness, 2 heart attacks. And she said, if you survive this ordeal, you will survive to success of your mission. And then she also said, she said that, and this is, Prabhupada wrote this in his poetry, that you can read his poetry that he wrote on the boat, and afterwards she said, if the Atlantic had shown its usual face, that probably you would have died. But she said it was not as rough as it usually is. So come with us always, and we'll have a much more peaceful journey. So that's another interesting woman's story. I forgot my one book. I was going to read a couple of poems. But I recently heard a story from one of my god sisters. So this is kind of a sweet story that I'd never heard before. So she was married to one of the early devotees. His name was Rukmini, and they went to Buffalo, New York to open a temple there. And Prabhupada came to visit. This must have been maybe, 1967 or 68, something like that. And so Prabhupada was visiting there for a few days, and she had a little 4-year-old son. And so, Prabhupada was there, and then she took her son home to where they were living and to put him to bed. But her son just started crying uncontrollably. Her son wouldn't stop crying.
Prabhupada was leaving the next day.
Prabhupada was leaving the next day, and her little, Kalindi was her name, her little 4-year-old wouldn't stop crying, and she didn't know what to do. She couldn't get him to stop crying. So she asked him, why are you crying? And he said, because Prabhupada's leaving tomorrow. And so she couldn't stop him. And so she went back to tell Prabhupada, wherever he was staying, that her son, wouldn't stop crying because Prabhupada was leaving. And so Prabhupada said, all right, then we will bring Eric with us. It's such a charming story. He said, we will bring him with us. And then Prabhupada's secretary was this brahmachari, future sannyasi Brahmananda, very big man. Prabhupada said, and Brahmananda will take care of him. So my friend Kalindi said that Brahmananda just blanched. His face turned white. I'm going to be taking care of a 4-year-old when we travel around the world. And she said Prabhupada was just chuckling. He thought that was so funny. And but then, her son was just calmed down. He was just peaceful and happy that Prabhupada was offered to take him with, and so everyone was happy, and then they went back home. I just thought that was such a sweet. Isn't that a sweet story? Mm-hmm. And then let's see. I was thinking of so in Delhi at one time there was one of my godbrothers who was the temple president at the Delhi temple. I won't say his name, but so he was kind of a very maybe I would say kind of a rigid person. And so he went to Prabhupada, and he was complaining to Prabhupada that my wife won't listen to me. and Prabhupada told him, then you should listen to her.
It solves that problem.
It solves the problem, right? And so then the other part of that is and she was, she used to play beautiful mridanga, like Srinivas was playing so nicely, so she was playing beautiful mridanga, and Prabhupada heard her from the room where he was in this temple. That just reminded me of another story I'll tell. But anyway, so Prabhupada was listening to her play the mridanga in the next room, and he was like turning his head like this, and he said, just like a gopi. Hearing her play the mridanga. So sweet. So that just reminded me of one that I hadn't thought to tell, but I'll tell. This was a nice one in that same temple. So at this time, this must have been maybe about 1970 or 72, something like that. And so Prabhupada was teasing this temple president that he had gotten a location. They used to have these big, what they call pandal festivals. A pandal is like a gigantic circus tent. They have these big events under these pandal tents in India. And so they were having some very successful pandal festivals in Mumbai and Calcutta, and something like 25,000 people would come to one of these festivals. In the first one they did in Mumbai, Shyama Sundar, who, if you get a chance to read his books, chasing rhinos with the Swami. It's really a wild ride. It's kind of like traveling with the Grateful Dead or something. They're great. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so he's such a really genius marketing person. He had got one of those big, what do they call those balloons? Those big hot air balloons that said Hare Krishna Festival and the dates. And he had
by the time he put that balloon up, it was so well known over the city that they just had to put a balloon that said Hare Krishna. Because everybody had heard about the dates and the locations.
Yeah, so it was flying over
billboards all over town.
Yeah, so these festivals were really big, like 25,000 people. And in one of these festivals, we're just hearing there was a Muslim man who was in the audience, and Prabhupada was honoring him. He was dressed like an Islamic person, and Prabhupada was honoring him. So Prabhupada was very...
He asked him to come up on stage.
He asked him to come up on stage. Yeah, so what happened in Delhi at this time is this temple president, whose name I'm not sharing, had gotten a location that was not a good location. Mm-hmm. And so Prabhupada wasn't pleased because he said, so-and-so has gotten a location that someone will have to cross the 7 oceans and 7 seas to find us. And then, it was like we were a small group of disciples in Prabhupada's room, and at that time the temple was like a house in an area called Chanakyapuri, which is a diplomatic enclave in Delhi where a lot of diplomats lived. So he was saying, cross the 7 oceans and 7 seas, and then he seemed to be reminded of Lord Chaitanya's prayer about, Chaita Darpana Marjanam, cleansing the heart, extinguishing the blazing fire of repeated existence. And so then he started to quote from Lord Chaitanya's prayers a little bit. And I was sitting in the back corner. I was like, I was actually 20 years old at the time. And there were all these sannyasis and kind of big shots sitting around Prabhupada's desk, and I was sitting in the back corner of the room. And so Prabhupada starts quoting his Lord Chaitanya's prayers, and he's going, bless you, he's going, Nayanam Galada Sridharaya. And then he was stopping to see if anyone would pick it up, And nobody was saying anything, so my little voice in the corner, I'm going, Nayanam Galada Sridharaya. And I picked it up, and Prabhupada goes, yes, what is that? And he had me quote the verse, and then he was teasing the men, He's saying, you see this little girl, she knows, you don't know. It was so funny. You see, she knows, you don't know. And then he tried it again, with another verse, and nobody was saying anything. So I started finishing what he was saying, and he was. But then, so I started to get really, I know the verse, and I don't know the verse. So then he had to, smash me down. And so then he started talking about what he called the Ugra Karma civilization, which means the modern industrial civilization where people have such terrible, terrible jobs. Like, I know, I'm from Chicago. I'm from the same town as Radhanaswamy, a suburb of Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I left home, I was living with some people. This man worked in the steel industry, and he had a very high-paying job, African-American family. He had a very high-paying job because he had to walk right on the edges of these vats of molten steel. Mm-hmm. So very high-paying job that he could have fallen into one of those vats at any moment. So anyway, Prabhupada was talking about this Ugra Karma, this hellish civilization, and he said just like there are these gigantic crucibles, and so I went from my corner. I went, And then, because he has to put me down a little bit now after I got puffed up. And he goes, oh, you know what is a crucible? And I didn't actually know what a crucible was. And I said, I should have stopped there, right? But I said, well, isn't it one of those little rooms that a monk meditates in? I was thinking cubicle, right? And so I wasn't going to tell this story, but somehow the other one reminded me. So anyway, and he had this beautiful way of, Prabhupada had these very aristocratic, he was very humble, but he had these very aristocratic gestures. So with just a toss of his head, with a dismissive toss of his head, he went, does anyone know what is crucible? So then Brahmananda, who was sitting in the front row, one of the sannyasis who didn't know the verse, he goes, or Lord Chaitanya's verses, he said, yes, Srila Prabhupada, a crucible is a gigantic molten form in which they melt steel for building skyscraper buildings. And Prabhupada looked at me and he goes, yes, that is crucible. But he could be so funny and so yeah, just so beautiful. So there was this other story, it's kind of similar to that one. So generally the ladies would clean Prabhupada's room, so he would go for a walk in the morning, and when he would leave his room, the women would come in, certain women would come in and clean Prabhupada's room and then scurry out before he came back from his walk. So this one morning, this is in Mayapur, so I was cleaning his room with some other ladies, and he had a very nice box of sweets. He would give sweets to a guest, any guest who would come, he would give them a sweet as they were leaving. And so he had this very nice box on his desk that was kind of covered with cloth and decorated with some little stones and had sweets in it, excuse me. And then there was this other box of sweets that was on the floor next to, he had a low desk, right? So on the floor next to his desk, he had this kind of soppy cardboard box that had juice from rasgullas in it. It was like a bit of a mess. So I thought, okay, I'll take this box down to the kitchen and they can put one of these sweets on his plate when they send his plate up with his breakfast. So I did that, brought the sweets down to the kitchen, and at that time he had a very saintly godbrother named Anand Prabhu, who he had been a cook for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. He was a very humble Vaishnava, and he was cooking for Prabhupada at that time. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had given him an instruction to feed all the living beings in Vrindavan. So I remember another time in Vrindavan, he was cooking for the devotees. This was when the Krishna Balaram temple was under construction, and he would make extra chapatis, and then he would, afterwards, after everyone had taken prasadam, he would sit and rip them into tiny pieces for the peacocks, and I would help him. I'd sit there, and we would, and then if I tore a piece that was too big, he would go, small, small, more, small. And the peacock is called more. He has a very small throat. So anyway, he was in Mayapur. He was also cooking for Srila Prabhupada. So I did my service, and then I left, and then I went back to the women's ashram, which was in a adjoining building. No, it was at that time, the temple was just all construction. It was in the same building, but downstairs, a little women's ashram room. And so Prabhupada's secretary came, he was looking for who cleaned Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada wanted to know who cleaned his room, right? And so they found me, or it was Upendra, I think. Yeah, it was Upendra, and he found me. He said, Prabhupada wants to see you. And I said, Prabhupada, what did I do, So I'm offering obeisances, and while I come in, I'm offering obeisances to Prabhupada, and while I'm offering obeisances, Prabhupada's speaking to me, so I'm like, I don't know, to be up or down, So he says, where are my sweets? You have taken my sweets? So I said, oh no, Srila Prabhupada, I explained what I did. I said, I took this box was a bit of a mess, and I took it down to the kitchen so Anand Prabhu could put those sweets on your plate, because you have this other box of sweets on your desk. And he said, oh, you have not eaten any? It was so cute. He was so grandfatherly and just joking. And as always, there's a group of distinguished Indian gentlemen sitting around his desk, and, I'm this little person, So I said, oh no, I didn't eat any. He said, go get them, I want to see. So he had me go down to the kitchen, and bring the box and show him. And he knew exactly how many sweets were in the box. He counted them. He said, his eyes twinkling and laughing, chuckling. You know, he says, yes, you have not eaten any. It was just another sweet story. So, yeah, so let's see. So we were just in New York at 26 2nd Avenue. They're celebrating the 60th anniversary all week. So I was sharing this story. Actually, I'll share a couple of stories from there. Yeah, maybe I'll just speak for a few more minutes and then we want to hear from Urk. But so one story that I think you'll find humorous. So this was at the time of, this must have been maybe about 1969. So this was the time of the Beatles, when, you know, young girls all over the world, when the Beatles would come on stage, they would just, right? And so there were, I was 16 at the time, and I had just come from Montreal. I had just been initiated, and I came with these devotees on their way to open the temple in London. We were in New York for a little while, and so, but there were some other girls that were the same age as me. When Prabhupada would come walking down the street to come to the temple, they would all do that Beatles thing and just squeal, and they would, I found it really embarrassing. I was the same age, but they would go, Swamiji, Swamiji! And, you know, it was embarrassing. So then what did Prabhupada do? So then at a certain point he invited these young girls up to his room to sit there in his room, and he told them, you are the children of the society, so you must be very grave. And then they stopped doing that. Yeah. So another story from that era, this is maybe in about 1970. So you all know probably that the first temple was at 26 2nd Avenue, and maybe you've been there, it's a holy place. Mm-hmm. And so then the second temple where I got Gayatri initiation was just a few blocks up 2nd Avenue at 61 2nd Avenue. And so Prabhupada was away in Europe, and they acquired this new storefront at 61 2nd Avenue. Have you heard this one? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they acquired this new storefront at 61 2nd Avenue, and they were writing to Prabhupada, who was away for a long time. They're saying, you're going to love the new temple. It's just like a palace. And it was really only another storefront. It was a nicer storefront because it had been a tuxedo shop. It had mirrors all around the perimeter. It was, you know, more spiffy, but it was a storefront. And so they're writing him, it's a palace, you're going to love it. And I was thinking, what's Prabhupada going to do when he comes? Is he going to be angry? Is he going to be disappointed? What's he going to say? What's he going to do? And so I was very apprehensive. And so Prabhupada was coming, and I find this such a beautiful story. So he came in the temple, and he just looked around with his beautiful lotus glance, and then he sat down on his Vyasasana, which is the chair that the Guru sits on. And then when he spoke, he said, I prayed to Krishna to send me one moon. He said, I did not want so many stars. I only wanted one moon. And then he said, but Krishna has sent me so many moonlight boys and girls. So it was just amazing gratitude for, you know, our bungling efforts. It was just, I think, I say this a lot, but I think gratitude is like kind of the linking place between spirit and matter, that when we can dwell in this place of gratitude, we're beginning to access the spiritual realm. And if you read the pastimes of Krishna, you see that in every chapter of Krishna book, the devotees of Vrindavan are always in a sense of wonder, awe, appreciation for wonderful Krishna. So if we can begin to access that, you know, wake up to that sense of gratitude and awe, then our lives take on a spiritual dimension. You know? There's this quote from Abraham Maslow where he says, I don't know, I'll paraphrase as best I can remember, but he says something like, this is the gift, to have the wonderful ability to appreciate again and again freshly and naively. And I love that, because when he says naively, it reminds me of the residents of Vrindavan. You know, so simple, so naive, you know. Can we be like that, or we're so over-sophisticated? I've seen that a million times, you know, so jaded. But freshly and naively, you know, with a sense of awe, wonder, and he says, and even ecstasy. So I think this is really the linking place. So, yeah.
Some questions.
Yeah, I just want to end with this, my most favorite story of Prabhupada's stories, and I want to let Burke speak also. So my most favorite story of Prabhupada that was told to me by this devotee, Adi Purusha, who does feeds the homeless people in New York. And so when he was a new devotee, he was doing a service in New Vrindavan of being the night guard. They had a rented house. Prabhupada was staying there for a few days, and he was guarding from outside, and then it started to rain a little bit, and so he went into the attached garage, was doing his service from in there, but then he felt this presence behind him, and he turned around, and there was Prabhupada standing right behind him. Actually, before that, Prabhupada, he was hearing Prabhupada translate from upstairs, and he was hearing the clicking of the dictaphone, because Prabhupada would speak into a dictaphone, and then he would think and click it on and off. Anyway, so then he felt this presence behind him, and it was Srila Prabhupada right in the garage. So he offered obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, bowed down, and then he stood up and said, Srila Prabhupada, as any of us would have done, he said, is there any service I can do for you? And Prabhupada said the most amazing thing to me. He said, yes, you can go where I will not go. And he was bewildered, and he said, but Srila Prabhupada, you go everywhere. Like Prabhupada had just been to Dallas, Chicago, San Francisco, Japan, Germany, London. Where is it that you won't go? You go everywhere. And Prabhupada said, to the future. To the future. And by the way write this one down if you're a writer of notes. And by the way you treat the people there, they will know how much Krishna loves them. Go to the future. And by the way you treat the people there, they will know how much Krishna loves them. So I love that story, so thank you all so much. And now it would be nice if we could hear a bit from our dear Burke Rochford, who has studied this phenomenon of Hare Krishna for many years.
Well, first I want to say that Rukmini and Anuttama are the two people in my life that I love dearly, so I just have to say that. I feel very much that way. It's very interesting for me to be here, actually. And I was thinking through the whole thing that I feel like I'm in a right place, sort of. And it also came to me that I was thinking, I started downstairs raising this story, like how I got involved. And I had no idea I was going to be involved in doing the research on the Hare Krishnas. Zero. I was a student looking for a project, and I ended up in LA at the temple because I was desperate, frankly. Not desperate in the ways that devotees might talk about being desperate, but I was desperate because I was a newly arriving graduate student and had to do a project, and so there I was, and it was a very difficult place for me to be. These were the days when the devotees were quite aggressively trying to recruit people, and devotees would come up to me and talk to me and preach to me, and I always had to say to them, but wait, I just want to explain something here. I'm here. I'm a graduate student. I'm here doing research. You know, I kept telling that story over and over. Nobody paid any attention to it. They would all say, "Yes, Prabhu, we know why you're here," and it would scare the life out of me because my only protection I felt was to be able to establish myself as a researcher and for them to understand that, like, there's no reason to try to recruit me because that's not why I'm here. You understand? That's not why I'm here. And so my first months there, you folks won't necessarily know Donavir Maharaj, but Donavir was a very aggressive recruiter, let's just say. He was very good at it, in fact.
He was like a champion volleyball player.
He was at UCLA.
They put
He
the
was
same
indeed.
enthusiasm to that.
He was. So I was in the Bhakta program and I did various things that, again, always saying to myself, okay, you're doing some of these things, but you know that you are a researcher, right? You know. And I say that story in combination with this idea that Rukmini mentioned, that I said this earlier today, actually, that, you know, I'd always felt like, in various ways, and I still feel this way in many respects, that I was licking the jar of honey, and occasionally a devotee would turn that on me. They'd say, yes, you're just licking the jar of the honey, but you really don't understand what's inside. You know, it was kind of a real criticism that would get to me, sort of thing. But in a way, I'm sitting here thinking to myself two things. One is, and I've been thinking more about these sorts of things recently, with no real devotee association in the last few years. That at some point I want to get away from my tired tongue licking the jar to embracing something I had in ways resisted, even though I think Rukmini and Anuttama can tell you how they see me in the temple when you would, you know, I'm engaged, let's just say it that way. So I'm kind of open in a way that I think I haven't been before, because I'm not researching at the moment, and therefore I can open myself up in a different way, which I've always been struggling with in various ways. Like I would go to New Vrindavan, and this is in recent times, and when I was at the temple, you know, I saw Krishna, I felt Krishna, I felt so good being there. And then I would go to the airport. About halfway to the airport, it would all change, right? So it was always like that. It was like I'd get the feeling, I'd get to know that, yeah, this is part of who I am, and I'm very happy with it. I should be serious about it. And honestly, I'd get halfway on the drive, and something would just change. By the time I was at the airport, it was a goner in so many ways. You know? So the other thing I would say is, being here with you lovely folks actually is, one, I think this is what Prabhupada intended. I think he meant it to be in this kind of environment, and you know, he always talked about, you know, every town and every village. Well, in a certain kind of way, that means it has to happen in so many ways that are on the outside of the institution, and that people have to be engaged in all manner of ways, sitting in people's living rooms, sitting in this wonderful temple here. And so it seems quite right that this would be happening here. And that's not to talk about what's going on within ISKCON. I can do that, but I won't do that now. So in a way, I feel like I'm in the right place, in part because this is the right place. Okay? That this is the way that I think, particularly in the West, that Krishna consciousness has to move forward, quite frankly. Because it's doing something different in ISKCON temples throughout this country and many parts of the West, quite frankly. I'm not critical in the sense of it there's anything wrong with that. I'm only saying that it's that Prabhupada came to the West for a particular purpose. It's morphed into something else. That something else is fine. I don't mean to imply that, but how are the rest of us going to deal with it? And I think this is the way we're going to deal with it. And just as for me personally, it's just also a very comfortable place to do it. So it's been kind of an interesting kind of internal experience being with you folks, and I appreciate that. And I thank you for that.
Beautiful. So organic. So organic.
So I'll be back.
Yay! He just lives down the road.
20 minutes away.
Okay, we can go back to DC now.
You did your
Mission accomplished.
Not quite yet.
Bring your dog.
Bring your dog. Yeah. Your dog will love the kirtan.
Oh man, she'd love seeing everybody here, but she'd be nonstop. I love that dog dearly, but she would be nonstop. She'd be lovely for a few minutes. Anyway, I just want to thank all of you. I mean that sincerely. So
Thank you, Bert. We're so happy you're here.
Glad to be here.
Welcome to another home.
Yes, your home.
Another home for you.
Yeah. Home on the lake.
Yeah.
Any of you have any reflections or questions or?
I have a question.
Yes.
Brooke, how were you raised? Did you have religion in your life? Like, what was your concept of God in your childhood through young adulthood? What was your journey like there?
I still have it. I'm still on that journey in a real way. I wasn't raised in a family where I really came away with a concept of God. First off, I was in a Catholic family with a father who was very confused about all this himself. So it was not really part of my upbringing. It really wasn't at all. My conception of God is first of all, I have to struggle with the fact of do I believe in God, okay? And I can't always hold on to that idea firmly, even now, frankly. I have to be in conversation with myself about it. I have no doubt that conception for me, like people in this room, would be of a personal God, one that you have a relationship with. And I do feel that, and I do that's there for me. But it in the same way that I, halfway to Pittsburgh, halfway to thinking about this, it can kind of evaporate on me in a way. And I'm trying to, I'm hoping that as I put aside the research and start thinking about myself personally in my relationship, because it was always at least a mixed bag. I was listening to people, but I was also thinking how that fit into what I was trying to do with my research. Two very different enterprises, as you know and appreciate. So I'm trying to get a firmer grasp of that concept of God that stays with me. That's a kind of a big admission, I think, in that it's not always easy to say out loud in an audience such as you guys. So it's yet to be determined in a certain kind of way. So we'll see.
Sometimes we might say to ourselves, "Tell me about the God you don't believe in." Tell me about the God you don't believe in, Rukmini. The God that you're not taking into your heart of hearts. Tell me about that. What is that? Who is that?
Well, there's also times when I believe in God that they come up. I'll say to myself, "Oh, Krishna," something will happen, and I think, "Oh, Krishna," and so it's there, even in the moments at times where I don't know what I'm thinking about in this regard. It's there. So it's something I'm working on. And I think, devotee association obviously is a crucial part of it, there's no doubt about that.
Nice.
I have a question
Yeah.
for you, Rukmini. Thank you so much, Anuttama Prabhu, for that ecstatic kirtan and
All the
Thank you all
dancing.
for the
raising
dance.
the roof with all the
Beautiful
dancing.
dance.
Rukmini, for your beautiful stories of Prabhupada and your experience in this movement from age 16 to now, and to Burke for sharing your heart so vulnerably and openly with us. And we're so happy to welcome you into our Sangha. And I really love what you shared, Rukmini, around how, and I wrote it down, gratitude is like the linking place between spirit and matter. If we can begin to access that and wake up to awe and wonder, then our lives take on a spiritual dimension. And then also what you shared, you paraphrased that teaching, that quote, see the world freshly, naively, and with ecstasy. And I was thinking about how so gratitude is this key ingredient, this special ingredient, and it requires humility to have genuine gratitude. I can practice cultivating more gratitude, but like spontaneous gratitude really comes from living humbly. And I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about how to cultivate more humility, because you're so humble and offer yourself always to anyone and shower appreciations on everyone you see, and that feels very spontaneous and sincere, and you're so humble. So how did you cultivate that?
Thank you. I'm just trying, but I think it's a lifelong aspiration, and by studying the lives and the characters and the teachings of people who are actually humble, we can associate through our ears, through hearing, and it's really interesting. Prabhupada uses the word sophisticated in a very interesting way. Like we think in the West we think, oh, I'm very sophisticated, but Prabhupada uses it in a negative way. Like, and sometimes he'll say, any bhakti is so simple, any unsophisticated person can understand. Like the residents of Vrindavan, they're so unsophisticated, they're so naive, they're so simple that they can get that sparkle of wonder, joy, amazement. There's a Sanskrit word chamatkar, which means astonishment. So they dwell in this place of astonishment, and but when we think I think from the time we're children, our mothers are saying, you're a big girl, act like a big girl, you're a big boy now, So from the time we're little, we're being told act big, but the bhakti process is no, become little, become little. Because we're actually little infinitesimal sparks of this ecstatic rasa, or joy of relationship, which is what we're all seeking, like everyone's, we say in English, everyone's looking for love, right? But, what the essence is to love and to be loved for who I really am, right? But that essence is that this bhakti rasa, this taste of relationship. So this word rasa is a very mystical word, actually. It means, like, it can apply to food. Like, you're a chef,
Yes, you are.
Sit down, you're a chef.
Srinivas.
Srinivas, like amras, like mango juice is called amras in Sanskrit. So, but what it is, it's not just the juice, it's the taste. So this ras, it can be applied to food, whatever your favorite food is. Maybe you like salty, maybe you like sweet, but it can be applied to relationship. Rupa Goswami applies this word rasa, this book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, ocean. Prabhupada did the summary study, Nectar of Devotion. So the original Sanskrit name is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of rasa, or devotion. So this rasa is the taste that we're all seeking. It's the taste that we're all seeking in relationships. And Krishna has a name, like the very first verse of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami is, he defines Krishna as Akila Rasamrita Murti, that he is the full ocean of this taste that we're seeking, the form of this taste that we're all seeking. So, George Harrison said it, everyone's looking for Krishna, right? So, but I think when we have this attitude, when we're so jaded and sophisticated, and artificially sophisticated, thinking, I've seen that, I've been there, I've done that, I've seen it all a million times. It's a very kind of entitled, kind of a teenage, entitled attitude that I can carry on past teenage years. I'm so sophisticated, I've got it together, I've got to look good, and I've got to, it's all artificial, And then when we hear all the time people say, well, I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. I think Paul McCartney was the first one to say that. I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. So what does it mean to be spiritual? Any ideas? What does it mean to be spiritual? What do you guys think?
I think it's like acknowledging that there's something beyond materialism, but not being willing to put yourself below, not wanting to put it up on high, but almost wanting to vibe with it,
right? And maybe
on
not
your own level,
not be in a box, right? Something like that. What else? Anybody else? What does it mean to be spiritual?
Knowing that there's something bigger than us, believing that there's something greater.
Yeah. There's this one beautiful quote from this philosopher, Martin Buber, that I love. He says, this Jewish philosopher, he says, sometimes an atheist, I don't know if you've heard this, Bert, but I think you'll like this. He says, sometimes an atheist staring out his attic window is closer to God than the person in the church saying, Lord, Lord, So this is about like sparking this desire, or this desire for this taste, It's another quote I was thinking of just now, that C.S. Lewis, the great Christian philosopher, he said that I know this world is not my place, because I know that there must be something higher than this world, because this world doesn't satisfy me. So I know that there must be something beyond this, because I'm not satisfied by anything I experience in this world. Any other thoughts on what does it mean to be spiritual?
I think we have to always be seeking the association of the highest Vaishnava that we can find, and through them maybe we can understand what it is to be spiritual.
Yeah, beautiful. Seeking the association of people who are awake or alive. Because most of us, I know myself, like I can go through my whole life sleepwalking like a zombie. Just like on automatic pilot. I can go through my whole day just being on automatic pilot, sleepwalking. But to seek the association of those who are awake, so that I won't sleepwalk through my life, So there's a Jewish philosopher, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. He said something very powerful. He said, to be spiritual is to be amazed.
It's to be what?
Amazed. So to wake up in the morning and to think everything is amazing, everything is phenomenal, take nothing for granted. To wake up, because usually we wake up with an attitude of scarcity. I didn't get enough sleep. I don't get enough respect in my office. My kids don't respect me. My husband doesn't. My wife doesn't respect me. There's not enough environment around here anymore. They're chopping all the trees. It can just go on and on and on, from this attitude of scarcity instead of an attitude of abundance. And look at that worm, like a child, like a child, can be like, you know, you have a lot of snow up here, right? You can like smash that puddle, that ice puddle with your boot. Wow! You know, like that sense of awe, that sense of wonder. It's so Vrindavanish, isn't it? You know? So we have to, I think, get out of the headspace of being, I'm such a big girl and I'm so sophisticated and I've seen it all and I know everything and I have to say the right thing and I have to look the right, you know. It's all fake. It's all hypocrisy. But what about, you know, awakening my heart to a sense of wonder and awe and childlike naivety? Any other thoughts or reflections or objections?
Is that what you meant by being an essence seeker?
Yeah, because that is the essence, right? Everyone wants to love and be loved for who we really are, without the games, without the masks, without the masquerade. So in bhakti terms, we could say we're looking for the taste of rasa, that taste of that essence. It's not the mango juice, it's the taste we get. So you can apply it to food or you can apply it to bhakti rasa. So what is that taste that I'm longing for, that I haven't experienced in any other relationship or any other experience in this world? It's this out of this world experience. That's what we're looking for. So where can I get it? And I think you said it right. We have to find find a circle of people who are awake or trying to wake up. You know, and I can come and I can open my heart and I can be real and I can, you know, I can cry and have tea and whatever you guys do. Tea and tilak.
Or tears and tilak.
Tears and tilak, yeah. So yeah, but that's what we're seeking, and I think that's a real sangha of holy people. To ask the real questions, and yeah.
You said something in class last week, because when we were talking about developing more humility, and I loved when you were talking about like offering everything. So we even were laughing, like, offer your shampoo, you know, but like offer this notebook, like I'm going to use this for you. And I love that. That I think is a really good way to build humility, because you're realizing that nothing belongs to us. Like, nothing whatsoever. Everything has been given to us. And if that doesn't make you humble and then lead to that gratitude. But I just loved that it's not just your food. It's like, you can offer everything. And I loved that imagery.
I read this once in a National Geographic article about holy places in different parts of the world, and they were talking about Vrindavan, and they were saying the people in Vrindavan, when they get a new TV, they'll just bring it and put it in front of the altar and say, I'm offering this TV to you, Krishna. I'm going to try to use it in your, you know. I mean, so what we do at home is we try to offer our food that we're going to cook and make a nice offering to Krishna, but we also offer the things that, like the dish soap and the shampoo and the lotion, you know, put in.
Whatever the new Amazon boxes, it goes first. I don't even know what's in it, but there's a box. It's in front of the altar.
And he's like, "Why is there another Amazon box here?"
I don't know.
I don't know. You know, it's a wonder. But yeah, no. Also, it comes from, you know. I think you might have noticed I'm a very eclectic person. There's another beautiful something you might like to read. I don't know if any of you have read it, The Letters of Brother Lawrence, who was a very simple, kind of clumsy, unsophisticated man living in a monastery.
Franciscan.
He wasn't a Franciscan, but he was, I don't know what he was, but he was just like, they put him in the kitchen. They said, have you heard of The Letters of Brother Lawrence?
I haven't.
Anyway, he was like a very simple, awkward guy. They put him in the kitchen. They kind of didn't know what to do with him. But he was very holy, and he would, like if a potato would drop on the floor, he would say, I'm picking up this potato for the glory of God. And, you know, so someone at the end of his life, someone asked, you know, he wrote letters to someone, and, you know, like opening his heart to this very bhakti simplicity. So, you know, like try to be accessing the holy name. You can be, when I was 12 years old, I was reading a lot of J.D. Salinger, and he mentioned a book called The Way of a Pilgrim, and I got this, it was about a Russian pilgrim who was chanting the Jesus prayer walking through Russia, and it said his only possessions were a loaf of bread and a bag of salt and the Jesus prayer on his lips. So I was trying that. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. You know, so we can have the holy name on our lips. We can always be accessing. We have that access of sound. So if we want, we can always be singing and always be in Sangha at every moment. But we have to reach out for it. We have to want it. And then we can always be connected. And, it's like a more conscious way of and you know what? You ask about humility, but humility is just reality. Because that's who we are. We are small. We're infinitesimal, but we're part of Krishna. We're a sacred, tiny part of Krishna. Isn't that beautiful to be so small and so sacred at the same time? You know, so that's to be humble is just to be living in reality. So not some inflated balloon that's going to pop if somebody offends me or I offend. You know, there's the arrogance is very artificial. What else? Anything else before we?
We can also continue the conversation downstairs.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to end.
Yeah. So we can have cookies.
Anything from our online crew before we?
Nancy's smiling.
Anyone want to share anything from online? Anything you heard, or any questions, or parting words?
I just offer my obeisance. You knew I would say something.
Yes, I did.
I just want to thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be glorious to be with all of you here and have Mark next to me. And I'm just so happy to be with you, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. Dear Mark, dear Nancy, dear Kishori Gopi's mom, and all the rest of you. Hare Krishna. So nice to meet you.
We got hearts. Thank you. Wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Shri Anuttama Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
I want to offer respectful obeisances to all the assembled devotees.
Sure. Now let's take this opportunity to offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled devotees. All the Vaishnavas who just say desire trees can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchai Bhavapatu Vyascha. And I'll have some snacks downstairs.
Thank you both so much.
Save some cookies for us.
I was going to say, we'll be virtually sending you chocolate peanut butter pie and Krishna cookies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love you all so much. Love you, Mom.
Oh,
Bye.
thank you. Amazing.
What'd you say? It was amazing. Amazing, she said. Haribol. Love you. You're glowing, Mom.
Well, I have a candle.
No, it's just your effulgence. It's not the candle. Okay. Love you so much.
I give it to you, but that would make
I wish you were here. But thank you for being here with us all. Yeah. Isn't she amazing?
Yeah.
She's amazing. Okay. Hare Krishna.
when Radhanath Swami walks in the door,